Here I am again, music lovers. So if you're still watching this, this marathon series inside the arranger's mind and the composer's mind, if you're still watching this, you're some kind of hero. Well done. You deserve a medal. Especially if you're still watching this at the end. Has anyone watched all the way through the first two parts in this series? No idea. Oh, I doubt it. And maybe someone might. I did. I watched them just to see if I was talking shit or not. And I think most of it was sensible comment that I stick by. There were some slow bits, definitely, where I'm at the piano and, playing through a section for the umpteenth time, and it's slow, and, I'm making mistakes. That's a bit boring. I apologise. I apologise to all you people hoping that I'm going to be a concert pianist and never make a mistake. Well, no, I'm not. Sadly, no. That's why I hired Nick Young to play my 2 albums of piano music that we've made together so far. Because I just don't have the concert pianist gene, the ability to play all the notes and sight read accurately nearly all the time. I don't have it. At tempo, definitely don't have it. I'm slow. But it's okay, because I'm not claiming to be a concert pianist. I'm claiming to be a composer and an arranger. And I'm fine for that. My slow and inaccurate piano style's fine, because it's only being used for tryouts. It's not being used for performance. Alright, so here we are at the probably, I think this is the final part. This is the third part, probably the final part. I hope so. And I guess you hope so too. So, the mission here is to do the fairy dairy accompaniment for the second verse. I've got the first verse done, third verse is done. I just need the second verse, the bit in the middle. The bit in the middle. Now, the bit in the middle, fairy dairy, the idea is everything will be up high, the accompaniment will be up high, above the bass, above the voice. And because it's up high, you can do what it likes most of the time, and it'll work fine with the voice down low. That's the theory, so it should be straightforward to write this. Now, what I've got in mind is this kind of thing. Like that. So and the way that I like to do these kinds of things is, I've found that even if you're not actually playing the melody with the right hand, but you want to cue the melody. So what I like to do is, every time there's a new chord, I'll start the chord on the note that is the melody. So in this case, it's a D, right? It's supposed to be a D down there, but I'm going to play a D up here. So I just start on that D, and then I'll play these. And they work really well because they don't work. Those B's are not. Those B's are in octaves apart, which is not ideal, so I would try to find a different way to do it, but I don't know if there is. The left hand has to start on the root of the chord. So what I do is I'll start the left hand on the root of the chord, I'll start the right hand on the melody note at the start of the chord. So those two are decided. I could do that. Or I could do, that's where I don't tread on the, I don't play the 2 B's at once that way, or I could play the 2 B's at once. I mean, which way do you think's better? Or I could try it an octave higher, maybe. I could do that. if I play it down here, I'd like to play the right hand down here, because when I get to the high points, because this is the low part of the melody, but 3 bars later I'm up here. Like that. Playing a high C. The highest note in this is a D, which happens a fair bit. So, and then another 3 bars after that we've got this high G, which is, sorry, a high D on the key of, in the chord C. Sorry, my brain's a bit mushy at the moment. I don't know why it is. It's I had a good night's sleep. I don't know. Watched a bit too much YouTube, maybe. Watched too much of my own videos, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, I'll try and keep it together. So, essentially, this verse starts with a low D, or a mid D, if you like. And then it goes to a high D, 6 bars later. And it does that a bit. There's a high B on a high D on a B minor. Yeah, and then. So I don't want to take the whole thing up. If I did that, here's the idea, right? If I take the whole thing up, it's already high. I take it up higher, then I can do this, which is quite nice. That's a nice way to do it. But if I do that, then I'm up here for the high notes. High notes in this piano aren't very loud for some reason. Not sure why that is. I mean, yeah, maybe. But I think it's too high. I mean, the bass, the voice will be down here, and we've got the accompaniment right up there. I feel it's just too high. So, I mean, I could. Falling here with show no respect for the scrum that was there. I mean, maybe I've got to make this decision. An octave high or not, because it makes a big difference to the left hand. It doesn't make any difference to the right hand, but the left hand is going to be completely different, because I'm going to be doing this. That kind of thing. Instead of doing alright, I think I've decided for the moment I will go with the extra octave up. I might change this. Anyway, so the first chord's a G, so we already know I'm going to be doing this with the right hand. And the left hand's going to go. Beautiful sound, right? So that's decided. So I'm going to need to take this whole thing up, put an 8 VA over it. Oh dear, 8 VA over it. They zone land for zone so they're just quavers. I was thinking for a while they were semi-quavers, but no. Someone for farming herewith, farming herewith. So here's the thing. Oh, hang on. First of all, let's put the left hand in. So the left hand is just... I'll just put an 8 VA on top of that and make it easy to write. Essentially, that's the pattern. So once you have that pattern, you know what you're going to do, right? There's someone for farming herewith, farming herewith, farming. So there is the discord there. Do I chase it? I could ignore it because I'm up high. I can ignore it, but someone will notice. Someone will notice. Farming. Discord. Farming. Farming. What was I doing? I was doing farming. Yeah, you've got that discord. Maybe it's just the left hand is the one I've got to worry about here. An E octave. What's happening here is I've got this A in the voice, and we've got this left hand which is above the voice, and notionally it's an E minor 7 chord there, but there's an A which obviously is not in the E minor 7. So we get this discord. If I play the B or if I play the G, get that discord. The only way to avoid it and still be in the chord would be the E at the bottom, so I could do that. Could do that. There's another thing there. This is this right hand. Those two notes are the same as the melody. Oh, sorry. Do I want to care about that? Is that going too far? These are the decisions. These are decisions the arranger has to make, and they dictate the policy for the rest of that arrangement, which will be the rest of this verse. So I've already made the decision that I'm going to actually play it an octave higher than I was thinking. I've made the decision that the left hand must harmonise with the voice, even though it's above it, must harmonise with it. The right hand, the question is, does the right hand need to harmonise with that? Well, I guess I can check that on an individual basis, but is the right hand allowed to double the melody? That's the question. If it doubles the melody, we'll lose some richness. If I don't double the melody, what will I do? I was going to do this. No, as in... Well, again, that's... Now I've gone... that was the logical thing to do, but if I do that, I'm hitting an E there and an E here. Two E's in both hands. Again, we lose richness if we do that. So instead of doing that, maybe I could do that. So I'm playing a B with the right hand while the voice is singing an A. It's not nearly so bad because it's so much higher. It's not such a bad effect. I could probably get away with that. I don't think it would matter. So what is it? It's fa, fa, ring. I could do that. Problems with that are, again, both hands are playing the E. That's a problem. But it does work with the voice. Oh, I can't do that because they're both a G. We can do a lot of nice things with the two hands together, but then there's the question of how do they harmonise with the voice. Anyway, what I'm going to do is muck around with this a little bit, try to get my head around it, try to make the right decisions about exactly how I want to approach this, what I want to enforce and what I don't want to enforce. Like I've said many times, the rules are just guides. They're general principles. You can break them when you need to, and the question is to decide. The art is to decide when to break them and when not to break them. So I've got to muck around with this. I'm not completely clear in my head as to exactly how I should do it. I mean, I know I want this kind of effect. That's there, right, from the first two beats show that. They show what I intend. So I just need to work it out a bit better, and I'll be back. And I'm going to have some lunch too, and I'll be back. Okay, back. So I've got a plan now for dealing with this stuff. So what I'm going to do is, because the left hand is going to be sitting above the bass line, above the bass voice, I'm going to get the left hand right, I'm going to get the left hand to harmonise with the voice. That'll be the first thing. And then the second thing I'll do will be to get the right hand to harmonise with the left hand. So that's my order of approach. That's what I'm going to do. So, I've done the first line with the left hand here, so I can try and play it. The problem is I've got the bass, which is the lowest instrument at the top line because it's the voice, and then the left hand of the piano is down the bottom, but it's also transposed up an octave. It's complicated. You have to get your brain around two things that aren't normal when it comes to sight reading, so it's difficult to sight read it, right? Oh, that's right, and the bass itself is an octave below what's written. So that's three things I've got to deal with. One, this is an octave below. Two, this is an octave above what's written. And three, the lowest voice is at the top instead of being at the bottom. Makes it difficult. So what have I got? I've got very confusing. No, it's too confusing. I was doing it before. I think maybe because the camera's on it, takes some of my brain away when I'm talking to the camera, makes it hard to get anything done. Anyway, that's what I've done. I've put that through, and then I've got the voice on top. Like that. There was this little run down here, which the run in the voice is like this. And to harmonise that, I use this. Do it again. That's supposed to be the left hand. And then on top of that, we've got this other one here, which is on top of the left hand, the right hand. Whoops. Let me try that again. Oh, so confusing. It's so confusing. What I should probably do would be to print this out with everything around the right way and put the right octave in, and that should make it easier to read. So I'll do that. I'll just go over to the computer and try to make this easier. I'll be back. Okay, I've done that. Certainly makes it a lot easier to see to play what's going on. So if I play you the first line with the voice and the left hand is like this. So the first half of that I think is good, but it runs into trouble when I'm following this rundown. We'll lose the pattern. We'll get this nice, or something like that, you know, or how does it go here? That's the kind of pattern that I want to propagate right through this arrangement. And we've lost it here when I did the rundown in whatever it was, thirds, right? Harmonises, but it doesn't suit the chosen feel. Doesn't suit the chosen feel, so that has to go. I need a different way to do it. Could do that, maybe. It's an A. The last two notes are an A minor 7, and we've got an A and a G. So I'm looking for C and E really. So C and E, right? But we need to get the rocking thing going. So if I do that would do it, right? An E and then a C, then E up to a C. That would do it. That could be better. The thing I wrote doesn't seem to work so well. Also, the end of this scrub that was there, right? It's all on a D7. I think it was originally all a D7. Oh no, it's an A minor, then a D7, and I've changed it to a D7, then an A minor, and then a D. I could just make the whole line a D7, the whole of that bar a D7 maybe. Maybe something like that, so maybe something like that. Oh, where's my rub? I can rub that out. I do a lot of rubbing out. This is why I use pencil, because I'm constantly changing things. Guess that'll work. Right, so then we've got the thing on top, right? So, I didn't have a D there, but I think a D would be good there. It was an F sharp, but I think it'd be good with a D. What I tried to do in the right hand was to follow that little run down, this little run down with a... I tried to do a third above it with the other hand, and then a third below with this hand. No, just dispense with the whole idea altogether, I think. That sounds quite cute, but they're actually both at unison. just goes from 2 octaves apart to 1 octave apart. That is cute. I probably don't want to do unison, but I could reverse it and go, instead of going E, C, I could go C, E. That should fix up the unison. Let's try it. Try it. And because there's 3 parts at once here, I really need to prove the concept, I need to take it over to the computer and get the computer to play it through, which is better than me trying to do it 3 hands with only 2 hands and not being a great sight reader, especially when it's written with pencil and crossings out and things like that. Not ideal. What? Oh, that's the wrong octave. Yeah, that'll do. Alright, da 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 da. Will it work? I don't know, we'll try it on the computer and see. Anyway, that's the way I'm doing this, and then I'm going to, I've got 3 more lines to do, and then there's the, I started on the verse, on the voice section of this verse, but of course there's 2 lines, or if you like 9 bars of melody before, right? And of course, because it's the melody and there's no singing, I can't do with the right hand. I could do with the left hand, so I could probably just have the same old right hand, just an octave higher, and then put the fairy bit in with the left hand. Like that. Like that. That kind of thing, right? Yes. That works easy. Push down a low E, right? Just a nice, easy walk up. Anyway, you get the idea. So I'm going to go through, I'll put the that accompaniment in for the introduction to the 2nd verse, and then I'll go through and I'll try and put in the fairy dairy bit for the rest of the vocal, and then presumably that'll be it. Anyway, I'll be back when I've done at least a fair bit of that. Okay, it's the next day, I'm back. It's morning again. Yeah, my brain wasn't operating on all cylinders yesterday, I'm afraid. Sometimes you get like that, you have good days and you're not so good days. But seems to be working better this morning. So I just got stuck into it this morning, and I've done the arrangement of that verse I've completed it, at least in the first draft. I'll probably make some alterations. So the first thing I did was to write the introduction bit, or the solo, whatever you want to call it, interregnum. Alright, which is pretty straightforward. And then we have the voice coming. Let's see what happened compared to yesterday. So this is what I had yesterday. These old land for farming here with Mary a care. Show, spirit for the scrub that one. Trying to read 3 lines at once. Scrub that was there. So I made a few changes from what was in that line yesterday. So I had this. And I thought it could be, there's too many G's there, especially when you're singing this G. Showed. So it was showed. Yeah, it was showed. But of course, I'm singing the same G as that. I'm actually singing that note, so I can't play that note, so I've got to be a B. Showed. So I changed that to a B, and then I could have done the D next, but again, yeah, I could have done the D next. I could have gone showed, no, re. But if I do that, then I'm just going up the scale instead of doing up. Right, so I wanted to keep that motif. So I had to change that from the D to a B to get this. Da 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 dum. That's why I changed that. And then I had this. The second half, that's good, but the first half seemed a bit dull. Respect for the... That's fine, but I thought, why not go for a B there and get a bit more richness a lower note. Spade. Actually, that lower note can't be right because then the bass would be below the voice is singing that, and I want to play that. No, that's forbidden. All right, I'll just delete that. Delete that. I mean, look, you can do crossings if you have to. You can do crossing. You can cross the bass, but generally speaking, no, don't do it. Yeah, all right. That goes back to what it was. And the next bit was. Oh yes. So I was copying the chords from I think probably the final verse. Copying the chords from the final verse, and I did, for the sake of some of those walk-ups, I did change the primary chord in one case, and it was here, where I had A minor 7 originally in the lead sheet, but I changed to D7 for the sake of the walking around. So I had to change that back, because we're not walking around here, so we don't need it. So I've got to change it back to the A7. See, the melody was... so it was that nice A minor 7, and then you get the D7. But I had the D7 at the start for the sake of walking. But we're not walking, so we want to keep that A minor 7. So I had to change what I'd written because I hadn't questioned it yesterday because I wasn't able to think clearly yesterday. It's just one of those things. Also, I hate this Portland winter. You know, it's just wet and cold. And wreaks havoc on my voice. I can't sing properly down here. It's hopeless. I just get phlegm in the throat, can't hit the high notes, can't sing falsetto at all. Not that I do much in the way of falsetto, but if I'm singing live, I do like to do a few yodels and some country songs. And I just can't do it down here. It's hopeless. Yeah. Should I move? Should I move up north? I mean, maybe I should. Maybe I should. Maybe I'll sing better. And things won't go so rusty if I go up north. Maybe I should move. Anyway. So then I had this... now that... I'm trying to get... Oh yeah, that should be an F sharp, sorry. I'm trying to read 3 lines, and it's scribbly pencil marks where I've erased what I'd previously done, and it's very confusing. Bear with me. Well, I'm not doing the alternate when I'm running down because that's just a little fill in at the end of the phrase. Well, what did I have? I had some other stuff that was that was written for the D7, which I don't want the D7s, so I had to change that. And then I charged on, and I've done the rest of this. Got things like is that right? No. Yeah, I'm going to have to type this up. I'll go ahead and I'll type this up. I'll go over to the computer, and I'll type this up, and I'll show you some stuff on the computer and play it through, and then we'll probably come back to the piano and make some more alterations. But essentially, it's done. Okay, back at the computer. I've just typed it up, and it's looking good. Now, before I go on, I want to talk about what I said in a previous
stage of this process, which is that you can't trust the program, it's buggy, make sure you back up your work or you lose it. Well, guess what I didn't do? Mr. All-Knowing, all-smart, been there, done that. I didn't back it up. One of the problems was the thieves came and stole my backup drive. That didn't help. I still could have backed it up other ways, and I should have backed it up other ways. I mean, the simplest way would have been to just back it up to a thing called backup, like that. But anyway, I didn't do that, and it got wrecked. Not good. Which I'll show you in a minute. Fortunately, I was able to recover it thanks to the video. I ended up having to type it in again. Not the first verse, but the third verse. I had to type it in again using the video that I took that you've seen on step 2. What was it called? Part 2 of this thing. So lucky I had that, because without that it was gone. Anyway, I'll show you what happened. But first I just want to show you, just give you an idea just how much music I've written. Right, there's 28 directories there, containing all kinds of things. These are all about Australia, for example. And there's 31 songs, or 30 songs about Australia that I've written so far. And some of these are arranged and some are not. You know, for example, Too Much Wheat. There you go. That's the lead sheet, that's the lyric sheet, and this is the piano accompaniment that I'm working on at the moment. You got other things which are just a lead sheet and a lyric sheet. This one, this is one that on the road I didn't have, I wasn't sure what I was doing, so I ended up using Muse Score to do that score. Yeah, bit of a mess. This is the Spirit of Australia, and there's again a lyric sheet, and there's a lead sheet, and then there's a piano and pipes arrangement, piano accompaniment, SATB and piano, you know, lots of different things. There's one you haven't heard yet. I did an Australian version of Willen, the famous Lowell George song, except adapted to Australia. Anyway, there's loads of stuff there, but you know, backgammon, I've got 12 backgammon songs, some of which are arranged. Artist Life, there's 12 there. Angry Earth, I mean, there's a bunch of stuff here you people have never heard. Children's songs, you've heard the Muttaburrasaurus, but I did a version of Mag and the Dragon, and I've got a new version of the Ants, and there's the Owl and the Pussycat. The Owl and the Pussycat's a funny one. Everyone seems to know the song, but no one seems to have written it down. Anyway, I wrote down the version that I see it, which is, you know, half what everyone else thinks is the Owl and the Pussycat, and so the rest of it's a little bit different. But who wrote the original? I couldn't find it. Who wrote the original? Has anyone written the original? It's one of those weird things where everyone knows the tune. You know, the Owl and the Pussycat went to sea in a beautiful pea green boat. I'm pretty sure that's the tune that everyone sings, but who wrote it? You know, lost in time, anon perhaps. But the end of it's a bit weird. Anyway, I know. I've got family songs. I've got songs for Christmas. I've got folk arrangements. Lots of folk arrangements. Hymns. Look at all the hymns I've written. Using famous tunes. You know, like Melita, Lux Benigna, Blindwern, etc. Loba den Heren, Hevridol. Lots of great songs. Lots of great tunes, which I've written new words to so that they're not about Jehovah anymore. Album, well, that's my Life on the Dole album. Got another love album there waiting to come out at some point. Miscellaneous classical stuff. I mean, piano scales and arpeggios. I've got a book of those of the way that I play them, which is obviously a bit different to the way other people play them. Miscellaneous songs, mistunes, monsters. I'm waiting to bring this out. This is some great stuff in here. Piano music. It's all arranged. If you're watching this, Nick Young, and you want to do another album, I've got this cracking album of piano music. Shoot me an email. Pipe tunes. I've got Portland songs. Rude, Crude and Disgusting. We won't get there at this point. Songs from The Hobbit. Look at that. How many have I got? 15 songs from The Hobbit. 14 songs from The Hobbit. Just it's a full album of Hobbit songs there. Songs from Lord of the Rings. Well, what does it say? Doesn't tell me how many there are. Good on you, Windows, Microsoft idiots. Why do you not tell me how many? 50, right? But then we've got one of PDFs and 5 of those, so it's 44 songs there. All the songs from Lord of the Rings that relate to Lord of the Rings, not the ones that relate to the Silmarillion, like the Voyage of Earendel. I should put that A with an umlaut, which incidentally, it's not really an umlaut. It's 3 dots on top. It just means that you pronounce the A separately from the E. Earendel. Or Earendel. Whichever way you want to say it. Anyway, the idea is, that's already done. Look at this. Orchestral arrangements. I've kept different versions. This is when I was a bit more serious about backups. I've got slack in my old age, and I got burnt by it just a couple of days ago. Burnt me. Ew, nasty. Anyway. Songs of Travel. There it is, look. The full album. Spellbound, this is all mystical stuff. Mumbo jumbo. The Ned Kelly album, it's all done. Instrumentals, piano quartet. These are all the different versions scored for piano quartet. And this is The View from Phobos to do with Nick, and of course Young Man's Love, the Black Album for Rock Band. And I've got transcriptions that I've done for various things, like my versions of all these famous transcriptions, like Georgia, Home Sweet Home, Cry Me a River, Climb Every Mountain, My Way, Smile, Smoke Gets in Your Eyes. Smoke Gets in Your Eyes, what a song that is. The Lost Chord, Road to Mandalay, Wonderful World, all these famous songs. I find it necessary to do my own arrangements of things. I don't like using other people's arrangements, their lead sheets, because their chords are very rarely are all the chords right, very rarely. So I like to go, maybe I'll use them as a starting point, and I've got to find the right key, and then I've got to find, what I like to do is to find a great version of it. Like Smoke Gets in Your Eyes, I think it's the Platters have got the best version of that. Maybe it's them, or is it Johnny Mathis? Anyway, you go to their version and find the chords that they're using, not the chords that you get from some online repository, You always have to check these things. The chords are, almost never are the chords all correct. Sometimes the chords are, there'll be multiple versions you get online. Some of them will be complete garbage and the chords are completely wrong. Others will be the chords are mostly right, but very, very lucky to find one where they're all right. That hardly ever happens. So yeah, you never trust anyone who thinks they know what the chords are, because they're usually not quite right. Even if you get someone who's very good, you're still going to disagree over some chords, I think. Over the Rainbow. People think they know Over the Rainbow. It's an incredibly complicated thing. If you listen to Harold Arlen, who wrote the thing, his arrangement It's very complicated. It's very advanced. That fat Hawaiian guy who had the huge hit with it is completely missed all of that subtleties, completely passed him by. He produced this simple thing on a ukulele and everyone, oh, it's fantastic. Well, it's a very simple. It's fantastic if you like a very, 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 very simple version of a thing. He doesn't even use all the words, for Christ's sake. No, I certainly wouldn't be taking his version to a desert island. I'd be taking Harold Arlen and Judy Garland's version. That's the version. Do that. And of course, Judy Garland, for a little woman, and had a low voice for a little woman, very low. Got to take it up. I think it's very good in C, Over the Rainbow. I think it's very good in C, but tricky, very advanced thing. Some of the chords are highly debatable. What to use, how to do it, tricky. Yeah, not an easy thing. People who think it is haven't done it properly. What was the classic? The one I adapted. Wish Upon a Star is the one. When You Wish Upon a Star. I adapted that to, I called it Go and Wish Upon a Star. And I went down a bit of a rabbit hole with that one and put in a bunch of diminished and half diminished sevenths, which I think worked perfectly. Anyway, you can go and check out my version of Go and Wish Upon a Star. It's on YouTube if you want to. That's a tricky piece of work itself. Anyway, it's always fun looking into these things, and we've got folk. Look at all the folk stuff. I've got a huge folk tradition. I've played so much folk music. Look, jigs and reels. I've got hundreds of these things. Reels. These are all my arrangements. Learnt them, and slip jigs. And I put them together into sets. I've got all these famous Irish songs, right? Stacks of them. But it's not just the Irish. I've also got stacks of, I've got some English, not as much as the Irish, but still, fair bit of stuff. And Scottish, I've got so much Scottish stuff. Jigs, marches, reels. Not as much as the Irish, but still quite a lot. And I've got loads of Scottish songs, loads and loads of them. I mean, there's so many wonderful Scottish songs. Smile in Your Sleep, Skyboat Song, Flowers of the Forest, even The False Night on the Road, Tibby Dunbar, US Tramping Song, Westering Home, all the great, well, not all the great, I mean, there's a lot more Scottish songs than what I've got here. But these are a lot of the ones that I really like. A Fond Kiss, Annie Laurie, The Blue Bonnets Are Over the Border, which I have adapted into a song for alcoholics, which I think is appropriate, which I've got to do. I'm going to do it and put it up on YouTube at some point. There's a few Strathspeys there. Miscellaneous songs, the Philosopher's Song from Monty Python, and we got loads of pop and rock songs, loads of them, Windmills of Your Mind, what a great song that is. Sweet Baby James, Summer of '69, Right Said Fred, Puppet on a String. I mean, there's just so many. Only My Railgun, I adapted that, for example, from a certain scientific railgun. All of you people who know anime, I've got a version of that. Now we've got religious stuff. Yeah. Anyway, enough. Let's just close that. Now, hopefully we're back where we want to be. Let's have a look. So what happened was I had two verses, right? You remember I had two verses. And I wanted to insert room for a second verse between the other two. Foolishly, I did not back up my work before I inserted the room. Because what happens, you can insert with this program quite easily, but the problem is when you go to change time signatures in the middle of it, at some point it gets confused and destroys the work. It destroys the work. So I'll just show you I'll just open this file if I can find it. So this is what happened when I tried to insert and change the time signatures. The first verse was okay because it was already there, but the second verse started out okay, and then I was able to change the time signature there, and I thought this is going all right. And then I got to the next page and I changed the time signature there, and I'm thinking, oh yeah, it's not too bad. And then we start to run into trouble. It's taken, for some reason, the bug in the program, it's taken some of the bars from further along and put them in the wrong spot. Then you got these, 6 bars there, and there's 8 bars, and then there's half a bar, and then there's a whole bunch of bars, and then the final verse, it's just lumped all of the stuff I was trying to put into the second verse right on top of all the stuff in the final verse, and it's just a complete and utter mess. And you can't really tell what belongs with what. So it's just lost. I mean, even the lyrics, you got second verse lyrics in the wrong spot on top of third verse lyrics. An unholy mess. You've got a rehearsal point there, a B rehearsal mark at the end of the score after the whole thing's finished. An absolute disaster. Unusable and unworkable. To disentangle this is just a hopeless task. So what I had to do was delete. I had to delete it because what I'd done is after it had stuffed up, I thought, oh, this is a bug where it looks messy on the screen, but it's okay in the database, and you just have to save it, step out, come back in, and it'll be right. Well, no, it wasn't right. It was a complete mess, an unfixable mess. So, again, there's some nasty bugs in this program, and that's certainly one of them. And actually, I've had this happen to me before, but I didn't lose my work on previous occasions because I had backups, but this time I didn't have backups. Or I'd written over the one good copy, so I couldn't get it back. So I just had to type it all in again. Man, what a pain. Anyway, this is I typed it all in again, so I had to go back to the third. Well, you can't see what's going on here because, like I was saying earlier on in this thing, when I was trying to work out how to do this Humpty Dumpty arrangement, fairy tairy arrangement, things were all in the wrong order. You know, this is the right hand of the piano was in the bass clef instead of the treble clef, because up high I wanted the treble clef, and this thing is an octave high, and then of course the voice. It was in a transposed version of the treble clef, but in order to make it easy to read, so that you get bass, treble, treble, so that I could play it on the piano, I had to transpose everything down. Not only that, but I had to change the order, so I put the bass down the bottom, which is great, which is what I needed to do to sit at the piano and work through it. This is readable on the piano. The way it was before, it wasn't readable. But of course, when you do that, you get to the next verse and it's a complete and utter mess. But that'll be all right. Hopefully, that'll go back to normal when I restore the order. But anyway, before I do that, let's just have a listen to what I just did. and then it goes off into the third verse. So the transitions are good. I think it's basically good. I did hear a wrong note here somewhere. I think it was Zoneland for farming. I did hear a wrong note. A minus 7, E minus 7, somewhere. I heard it, but I'm not sure where it is. But I'll find it. I'll go back and find it and fix it. Oh no, it was down here. Gone are the numbers. B minus 7. A C. That's not a C. That's probably what the problem is. Let's make that a G. Make that a G and we'll hopefully fix the problem. And that belongs in a G. So it was gone are the numbats, the bats. Yeah, actually, I did have a G written. For some reason, I didn't type it in as a G. Anyway, that's fine. So there it is. It's written up. So what I'm going to do is I'll print it out again and I'll play through it a few times. And I'll play through it on the computer and there's a couple of notes there that I thought gave slightly the wrong impression. I'll need to modify them, just move them around a bit. Apart from that one note that was wrong, I didn't hear any other wrong notes. Just suboptimal notes. So I'll go through it over the next day and I'll fix those things up. There we are. All right. So next time you see me, I think I'll be at the piano. Yes, greetings, would-be music theorists. I'm back again. We're basically at the tidying up stage. The arrangement's pretty much done, but there's a few things I need to tidy up. The first thing I need to tidy up is the second verse, the parts that are going against the vocals. Now you may recall when I was talking about my theory for doing this, I said that the plan would be to do the part above the bass with the bass to make sure they work, and then put the top part on top of that. That's what I said, but that's not what I did. Well, I think I did it for the first line and the first 4 bars, and then I had a break for the night. And when I came back, I just rattled off something with both hands that fitted the chords and didn't intrude on the melody, which was fine. It's fine, almost. I mean, I played it before. It sounded fine, right? But no, I went through it this morning and decided that the things that needed to be fixed. So I came back. Hang on, I'll just turn this light on so I can read better. 2 sets of spectacles here. This one's for reading the computer, and this one is for reading things that are a little bit closer, like manuscript. So the first thing we notice going through here is that we've got a C there, we've got an A minor here, which is below. That's below that, and you can't have that. That's not allowed. So I'm going to move that up. So I made that an E. The next thing we notice is that this note here, another A, again harsh, sounded harsh. So I moved it up to a C. So both of those A's, for some reason, yeah, there's the 6th. The C with an A above it, a 6th. It was just a bit harsh. Didn't really like it. This was a third. That worked well. That's an octave, which is sort of forbidden. My rule is you only use the octave on the close voice if it's the root note, which it is not in this case, but whatever. All rules can be broken and should be broken from time to time. So this was a B to an F sharp, and again the fifth just sounded a bit coarse, didn't really like it, so I've just moved it around to a D. Now it's a third. Thirds always sound good. Thirds are the best sounding interval. Depending on what you like, they're the nicest. They're the nicest sounding interval. You don't always want nice. Like, you know, the fifth sounds coarse. They say, and if you read, I'm sure, classical counterpoint theory, you're not supposed to use fifths and fourths, but have you ever heard rock music? Shortbread. Can't live without it. Have you ever heard rock music? Have you ever heard AC/DC? Australia's most successful band. All hard rock and stuff, AC/DC and the like, is power chords. Power chord is the fifth. It's just the root and the fifth. That's a power chord with an octave above the root. There's no third there at all. And by God, it sounds great when it's played by AC/DC. So that's a brilliant example of how classical counterpoint rules can and should be broken. Like I say, every rule can be broken and probably should be broken at some point. Under certain circumstances, you can and should break every rule. You just got to be careful about the circumstances. Make sure you know what you're doing and you pick the right time to break the rule. There's only one rule that can't be broken. The golden rule of music. It has to sound good. That's the rule. The only rule that can't be broken. And you can break it. If you break that rule, your music will sound shit. So if you want music to sound shit, sure, break that rule. But if you want your music to sound good, that's the rule you can't break. It has to sound good. I mean, plenty of people have broken that rule. There's plenty of shit music out there. They've broken that rule. Well, good luck to them. If they're happy with their shit music, fine. Fine, they're happy. I don't have to listen to it, so we're all good. Alright. Moving right along. So, I changed that to... I didn't like the fifth, so I changed that to a third. And because I changed that to a third, and this was an octave above, I had to change that to a tenth to compensate. So we want to try to get all of the notes in the triad in the harmony if we can. But we don't want to be obsessed with it. Don't be obsessed with it. Just do it if it's achievable and doesn't break the golden rule, which is to sound. It's got to sound good. If it sounds bad, well, don't do it. All right. Now the next problem was this. We've got two B's. Now my rule is you don't have an octave around the melody unless you're doubling the melody, which we're not. But if you're doing bass, if you want to do a bass line to the melody, you don't double an octave below unless it's the root of the chord. So what we've got here is a B, which is not the root of the chord, and we're doubling it. So that's got to change. This is not the bass line below, but it is the equivalent. Because there's no bass line below, this is kind of a surrogate bass line. It's not a bass line, it's a descant, but it's surrogate. It's trying to be a bass line above the melody. So the same principles should generally try to apply. So we don't want this doubling B, so we'll make it an E. No, we'll make it a D. Sorry. Right. Then we've got a third, we've got the B and the D, well, a 10th, which is fine. Now, this, in order to harmonise this little bit, we need to put more chords in. Obviously the F sharp's not in the E minor and neither is the D. I mean, it could be in an E minor 7, but the F sharp is not. So the F sharp, I believe, after trying out various things, is a B minor. And then we're back to, well, it could be an E, but I think it's a C. And then this final one is an E minor 7. Great. They're a bit illegible. Let's move two of them down so they don't tread on each other's toes. Right, that helps us. You need to do this because otherwise you won't find the right notes in your other parts. So, we need a B minor. Now we had a B on top of an F sharp, and again it didn't work very well because it's an octave and a fourth, right? It wasn't really very good, so I'm moving that up to a D. Hello, a D. Moving it up to a D, and then the next one's a C, which doesn't have to change, nor does the E minor. So actually it was only just changing one note here, and the others still work. Fine. Next line. Again, we've got this E, doubled E, right? It's not the root note of the chord, so we can't do it like that. It has to go, it has to move, and it's going up to a G. You know, which is a 10th, I guess. A 10th. And this one has to go to a C because it, of course, was a G, which we've got a G there, so we can't do that because the root note's a C, so no. But having done that, we've now got this G, and I decided I didn't like the G. Because this is a G, that can't be a G, then we'd have E, G, G. We don't want, so we want something else in the chord, and that would be a high C. Right, that gives us the C chord. E, G, C. That's a C chord right there. Alright, so that's good. Let's solve that. Then across here we have this, we've got an E and an A, which is a fourth, an ugly fourth, and solve that by making that a C. And because that's a C, this can't be a C, so this becomes an E. And let's solve that. Then we have these two notes, which are not doubling octaves where they shouldn't be, but they just didn't really sound good to me. And funnily enough, if we make this just an octave higher, it works, whereas it didn't really work down low. It was a 6 down low, you know, which should be alright, but didn't like it. And then the following one, a B on top of a G. For some reason it didn't sound good either. The golden rule, it's got to sound good. Well, you don't have to know the theory to all this stuff. You just got to find something that sounds good. If it sounds good, you're in. No one can call you wrong if your thing sounds good, because they can stand there with a blackboard and point to theory and you just go, well, here it is, and you play it, and it sounds good, and they have to pull their head in. Because the most important rule, does it sound good? Long as that happens, you can't really be wrong. You can't be wrong if it sounds good. You just point to the fact that it sounds good, and they all have to shut up. Right. Now the next one is this stuff here. Just these two notes actually. So I didn't like the G for some reason. Or maybe it's because of this D. So we can't play the D here because it's a G chord and that D is doubled with the melody. So it can't be the D. To make that work, we have to make it a G. But if we make that a G, then this first thing can't be a G because then we'd be playing the G twice. So make the first one a D. That solves that problem. Then we've got this B and an E, which again is... what? E and a B, yeah. Which again is an ugly fourth or octave and a fourth. So let's just move it up, make it a G. Now it's a tenth. No, it's a, what is it? B to a G. Octave and a sixth. Anyway, sounds good. So that's the way that goes. And hey, I can't remember what I just did. Getting old. Anyway, so we've got this G on top of the B, which again is a sixth. I mean, it should be all right, but didn't seem to work properly, so we just make it a D. Make it a D, and G, G, D. Needed a bit of softness, so we put a B in instead. Yeah. This note is an E, and that's an E. It is the root note of the chord, but so it is permissible under my rule. But the top note's an E as well, so no, bugger that. I'll make it a third. Make it an octave and a third. Then we've got alright, Fasca Gales. Right, so this note's a B and that note's a B, so that can't be allowed to stand, so that becomes a G. I mean, when you're playing when you're trying to figure out what the note wants to be, you just try it on the piano. It's got to be in the triad. If it can't be the B, it has to be the G or the D. So you just try one or the other and pick the one that sounds best. I mean, it's not rocket science, really. The trick is to work out how to... Oh, that's a D, that's going to be an F sharp. It's not rocket science, but the trick of things like picking what octave it's in, is very important. Sure, you might know the note, but you've got to know what octave it's going to go in. But yeah, other than that, if you've got a good ear, you should just be able to hear which one it should be. And if you can't find anything that fits, then what you've got to do is try a different chord. You've got to reorganize your harmony. If you can't find anything that's in the chord, obviously it's not that chord. So you have to change the chord to find what fits, and that's where you've got the world open up to you, and that's where the genius comes out, or it doesn't. All right, so we've got... Yeah, that note was an E, and that's an E, so I had to change. And this note was a D, and that was a D. So, not compulsory to change it, but I just thought it felt better if I did. And that was a G, and I just didn't feel it quite worked. And then this final this final ending cadence. The ending cadence. Just going up like that was just didn't quite seem right, so I thought I'd come back down, and better with the F sharp there. See, again, this is a sixth, but it works here, but it doesn't work in other places. I mean, you just have to use your ear. Does it sound good? Does it not sound good? Is there a better note? That's arrangement in a nutshell. Is there a better note? Does it work? If it doesn't, change it. Alright, so that is the second part done. Now notice that I've got this ordered like this. I'll just put it back to the way it should be. First I'll press save, so I don't look like an idiot having to redo everything. Now we just go to order. Put the voice back on top. Apply, bang, voice is back on top. This is actually the working. To give you an idea what you can do with working, I could decide I only want to look at I only want to know the voice and the part directly above it. I don't want to know about the top part. And there it is. Now, I don't know any other programs that'll let you do that. It's incredibly useful when you're doing large arrangements. Like if you're doing orchestral arrangements, typically you just want to listen to, say, the string section. You don't want to hear the rest. And you can just select your strings. Or maybe you want to hear how the string bass is working with the bassoon. So you just want the string bass, the bassoon, and maybe the melody line. And with this program you can do that. It's incredibly useful for orchestral arrangements, any kind of large arrangement. Not so much for piano, because it's only the piano and the voice, but when you've got a lot of them, incredibly useful to block out the ones you don't want to know about at the time. I mean, you want to know about them in the end, but when you're working on, say you're working on a bassoon line, you just want the lines that are relevant to the bassoon. You don't want all the other extraneous stuff. You want to be able to see the relationship, especially between the bassoon and the contrabass. Very important to see that relationship, and you can even just isolate the two of them audio-wise to get that beautiful harmony between those two bass instruments. Same with the cello. Or if you're doing the brass, you just want to hear how the brass ensemble's working. Really easy to do with Forte, and I haven't seen it like every notation program will let you print out one part, and they'll let you print out all the parts, but will they let you select a given selection of parts? No, they generally won't, and that's a shortcoming. That is what is needed for anyone that's doing orchestral arrangements. Alright, so that's that. Now I can just go back from working back to the full score. Boom, there it is. What? Sure it was that. It wasn't that. See, that's just the piano. But it's not the piano, it's the voice in the left hand. I mean, I can make it the piano. Watch. I can make that into just the piano. No problem. That's not the one. That's just the voice. So it's the full score. And what didn't I like? Something was too close together. Why is this so close? I mean, before I did... This program is so buggy. Before I went to change the order, this was all set up nicely, It looked really good. I go to change the order, and I come back, and now it's all jumbled too close together, Not good. Not the way I want it. Can't take that any further down. So we have to take them up. Alright, maybe not quite that much of a gap. Very important to get the right formatting. The rest looks okay. I mean, this could come down a bit, maybe. Go up, maybe. Oh yeah, it's done it to the whole bloody thing. So what's happened is it's forgotten the formatting. It's forgotten the staff formatting. Because I changed the order, it's gone and reset the formatting. why. It's just somebody's idea that, oh, obviously you want to reset the formatting. Do you? Maybe you don't. Maybe I don't. Maybe I put all this down, all those stems down. Make it a bit more readable. And then these bars look alright. These systems look alright. Oh, that one's a bit close. Yeah, that is too close. Too close, too close. Yeah, the way they do the spacing isn't really very good. I mean, you can go to spacing and you've got staff spacing above and below. It doesn't really work. I mean, it does do something, but it doesn't do what you want, right? You really need to be able to adjust the gaps. I mean, you want a different gap for different things. Like, you'll want a different gap for the voice than you will for the piano. I mean, it's a general rule. And depending on how many verses there are, if there's multiple verses, you definitely want a much bigger space under the voice staff. But only the voice staff, not the others. But, you know, you can't do that. You can't do that with this program, except by doing it manually, which I've just shown you how to do it. Alright, now, I'm just going to show you some other things that I saw and fixed. Give me a minute. Just when I was playing through it this morning, like I say, get up in the morning and before you do anything else, or you have breakfast or whatever, but before you do anything else, before you use your brain properly, go through, play it through, while your ear is fresh, play it through, and that's when you'll make any changes. That's when you'll hear things. So the first thing I heard was this B, which I thought it didn't. B was a little bit harsh, and I thought a G would be better, but it can't be a G because there's a G following it. But is there a G following it? No, there isn't, because you'll remember that I was experimenting with a B in the bass for this G, and I ended up deciding it was good to start the system with a G, and then 2 bars later you'd play a B underneath the G, just for a bit of variety. So that's what we're doing here. Get the variety. And solve that problem with the B being suboptimal. And down here I discovered this. They're the same notes. Das ist verboten. So I'll just move them down. Right. Fixed. Fixed. Then the same thing here. This G can become a B for the same reason before. In this case, because the voice is going up to the top, I decided to make the bass note quite high here, whereas earlier on it was an octave below that. Now down here is the half diminished seventh, which I didn't put in this section. Beautiful chord. But how to put it in? Now you can harmonise very nicely with exactly those notes, but don't really want to play those notes twice. So what we're going to do is make some room so we don't tread on the toes of the thing. And now we can just move this across one note. Right, so there's your half diminished seventh. You've got a C, F sharp, A, E. They're all the notes of the half diminished seventh. And then it just moves from that. When you move the E to a D, then you've got your D. Just like that. As for how long we want to lay onto that, I guess it's fine, but we're coming down here, so maybe knock a quaver off that and see what happens. You have to tap it again, otherwise you can't apply. Bing, 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 bing. Maybe it's... We actually just want a dotted quarter note, I think. Dotted quarter note, then these three work down in parallel. Now here's another problem with this program. It's pretty ugly with rests. It just lumps the rests on top of the notes sometimes, and that's not good. Have to move them manually, which is okay, you can move them manually. The problem is when you make any change, it'll reset them and they'll be back on top of the notes again. Pain. Anyway, you've heard me whinging on about this program enough, I think. Alright, so that was just a little change, and then we go to the final verse. Final verse. Now here is, I've actually put the half diminished seventh in there, but it's not a half diminished seventh with a G. It needs to be an A. It's an A and it's a half diminished seventh, but then the A is not in the... It's not in the E minor 7, so it can't go all the way across. Well, we could just make this... just make it a crotchet. And then we won't be intruding on the E minor 7. So there we go, it's an F sharp, half diminished seventh. We've got the C with the E, the A, the E. The only thing missing is the F sharp itself. I did try it with an F sharp, and it was fine. But I just wanted some movement from this, because we've already got the A and the F sharp here. I wanted a little bit of movement away from that, so I thought I'd just try the E to get that little bit of movement. Yeah. I mean, you could play another F sharp instead of the E there, it'd probably be better, but it seemed to work alright, so I'll just stick with it. I might change my mind later. That's what composition is, an iterative process where you just keep making it better and better and better. And you keep doing that until it's done. And you know when it's done when you can't think of anything better. When it's just perfect, then it's done. And you should get to that point. If you don't make any changes for 2 days in a row, first thing in the morning you don't make any changes, it's done. It's done. Right, so this is done. So, let's have a listen to it. I hope I don't find these notes are wrong, but anyway. I mean, I'm hoping this is the final, this is it, finished, right? So, let's go home and we'll go back to the start. We'll play from the start. All right, check it out. So there you go. Done. The end result of all this labour, which there was a lot of work, as you can tell from watching this. I mean, it's been more than a week. It's more than a week since I started doing this. What is it, about 10 days since I started doing this? Is it 10 days? Maybe not quite 10 days, but anyway, it's more than a week. I haven't been working on it all the time. But there's probably at least 3 full days in it, maybe 4 full days of work, maybe 4 6-hour days, something like that. So, you know, a lot longer than it took me to write the song in the first place. Much more laborious. Anyway, that's what's required. You just have to you have to show your love for the piece by putting the time in. That's how you show your love for the piece. Putting the care in, putting the time, the expertise all goes in. And hopefully at the end you get something really nice. Like, I think that sounds good. Which is the objective. Does it sound good? I think so. So call it a success. I'll call it a success. Now I do feel like there's probably no one else listening to this, judging by the number of people that have watched the previous 2 parts so far. I don't think anyone got to the end of either of them. So probably, will anyone get to the end of this? I don't know. I mean, it's a very specialised group of people that would be interested in this, and that specialised group of people, you know, they probably never find this vid. But anyway, if you did, congratulations, you've made it to the end. Well done. You've seen how I do it. And I'm sure there's a lot of stuff in there that I've said that's very useful to anyone that wants to do arrangements. And it's difficult to find a really helpful arrangement instruction videos, really helpful ones. There's plenty of people coming in with a bunch of theory, but is it helpful? Hopefully mine is more helpful than the rather dry and not always correct stuff you find online. So anyway, yeah, congratulations if you've got this far. Congratulations, and your reward will be you will be able to download a PDF of the score, and then you can play it yourself on your own piano, and you can sing it, or you can get some low male voice to sing it, and you play piano, and you can check it out in the real world, which is what it's all meant for, really, the real world. I mean, computer simulated instruments are just not the way to go, really. But that's what I've got at the moment. So actually what I might do is I might learn this piano accompaniment, and I might film myself singing it with me playing the piano. I'll see how it goes. Depends what else I'm doing. I've got a lot of work on at the moment. I've got to try to make this house burglar proof, which can never make it entirely burglar proof, but I've got to make it more secure than it is at the moment. So that's what I'm going to be doing for the rest of the day. So enjoy the piece, download the PDF, and I hope you enjoy playing it. I enjoy playing it, so you should probably too. Happy days, people.